Morning, everyone. It's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. This morning, I would like to look at renowned surrealist artist Salvador Dali. I'm going to look at his chart right now. I don't think he needs much introduction. He is very well known for his incredible surrealistic painting. Salvador Dali, May 11th, 1904, 8:45 a.m. Figueras, Spain. Okay. So, first thing is this tremendous stellium in Taurus in the 11th house. 10th house, some of it early 10th house, late 10th house, or most of the 11th house. So Sun conjunct Mercury and Mars. Mercury is retrograde. And then Venus is also in Taurus earlier on. It's about 16 degrees from the sun. So Venus is strong. It's not getting burnt up by the sun. Mercury and Mars are, but I think that's okay because Mercury is the domicile ruler of Venus, and it's strong and it's strengthening. It's adding strength to all these planets. The Sun is ruling the second house cusp in the 11th house. That's fantastic for wealth and recognition, career recognition, as well as the second house deals with Venusian values, taste in general, and I think it generally helps with the arts because of its connection to Venus and Taurus. Although it's Leo certainly does, and the Sun certainly does. It adds a lot of creativity. Although what I'm saying is the second house isn't necessarily representative of the arts, but it has that general ability to relate to a lot of things because it's knowledge, it's assets, it's very basic and primary. It's worth, it's what we value, it's our family, and it is a money house, and so is the 11th house. So here we're seeing a lot of money and career success and creativity because they're both creative. Sun and Taurus, Leo, Taurus, they're both very creative signs. Mercury is ruling the third house cusp and the 12th house. So here we have skills of the hands, the intellect, but skills of the hands primarily, as well as creativity, but Gemini, again, skills of the hands, creative skills of the hands. It's retrograde and it's slow. If we look at the speed of it, it's not super slow, but it is very slow. 33 minutes, 40 seconds retrograde. So that's good. We know he had excellent hand skills, but what's making it even better is this Mars. It's really the Mars conjunct Mercury is really enhancing. Mars is ruling the 5th house of creativity and the 10th house, so career. So that's very prominent. Mars creates great technical ability. And so does the sun conjunct Mercury can as well. It's a bit irritating to Mercury because the sun irritates whatever planet it is, but the sun wants to control. The sun is the king, so the sun wants to have it his way. So he's going to be very controlling. And with Mars there too, this Mercury is just going to be super focused, super technical, and really trying hard to get things right. Like this is a Mars, this is a Mercury that's just gonna keep going at it and at it and at it until it gets it perfect, because of the Mars and the Sun, and it being in Taurus, and Venus is there, and Venus is really doing Venus is ruling the 4th house cusp as well as the 11th house cusp. So, and it's in the 10th but moving towards the 11th. So early childhood, rise to success. And that was, he wasn't famous from from early childhood, but he did start painting and drawing young, and he was attracted to the arts from a young age, and that was really prominent from early on. Salvador Dali. What's his name? So Moon is culminating on the MC in Aries, and Moon is the ascendant lord. So here he's just going right up to the top with his Moon. Creative Moon. Moon is also a creative planet. So is Cancer. In Aries, it's becoming very direct, fiery, passionate, inspiring, and very prominent. This is a clear indication of success in general when, you know, the ascendant lord is culminating. I have my ascendant lord culminating, but I also have Saturn there, which is restricting it. So in time, I'll get there. Anyway, yeah. So Moon is here, ruling the ascendant lord. This isn't particularly artistic, although it can be. It can be for just a lot of things. It's just quite strong. Angular, 10th house, MC conjunction. Jupiter ruling the 6th and 9th house in the 10th house, Aries. So especially with 9th house ruling the 9th house, he was very studious and he studied art and he became like extremely proficient. Before he developed his surrealistic style, he was just an excellent painter, right? And here it shows a great appreciation and love and ability. Jupiter's the teacher, the guru, for the higher knowledge, higher studies, and creativity. Pisces is very creative. So like the studying of arts and developing it to its highest ability, highest potential, and then in the 10th house being very visible, you know, being able to really gain recognition and show off his work to the world. That's very prominent here, right? 6th house, I mean, yeah, it's probably, you know, bringing in a lot of daily routine, you know, efforts, normal mundane activities, and some conflict as well. I'm sure he had his fair share of conflicts and fighting. And not to mention Uranus is in Sag, 29 degrees, retrograde, which is interesting because it's at the anaretic degree and it's retrograde. And it's co-ruler of Aquarius, ruling the 8th house in the 6th. That's actually good because these are both bad houses. They're not bad, but they're difficult houses. But when 8th lord goes in the 6th, 6th lord goes in the 8th, or 12th lord, when these houses trade places or are in their domicile, it's considered better because from difficulty comes something positive. That's what it means. All right. I'm not sure how that translates to his life because I don't know enough about his life to say. But look here. Yeah, let's square to the nodes. So is Vesta, but Vesta is a smaller asteroid, but this is prominent. This square to the nodes would indicate some kind of accident, some kind of, I know his brother died before he was born, but his mother died, and that was very tragic for him. I'm not sure if that's how this relates, but it does indicate some sort of accident, some sort of, you know, traumatic event that happened somewhere along the way. Could be his mother dying. Doesn't really, perhaps because there's a wide conjunction between South Node and Moon, but that's still there. And South Node Moon conjunctions are very psychic. You know, this is out of sign, but like if this was sidereal, it would be in the same sign. Not that I use sidereal for these kind of things, but I still think there's going to be some influence here. And yeah, it can be very psychic. Early life can be very emotionally turbulent. A later life can be psychic and intuitive, but also just very refined thinking. It doesn't necessarily have to be psychic. Moon in Aries would tend to be less psychic, although South Node in Pisces could be. So, you know, perhaps intuitive, we'll say intuitive, but just very refined thinking. And perhaps the wide square, that's a square. I mean, that's out of sign square, but the square from Moon to Uranus, that would definitely, to me, relate to his mother dying and it being very a painful, traumatic event for him. Uranus represents trauma. Square the nose represent an accident that happened somewhere along his life. Okay. This would also mean that his daily routine has to be varied. Uranus in the sixth house, whether natal or transits, mean you're gonna just like keep changing up your daily routine. Like if he had a job, he would just have to get, you know, change up his job all the time, or it'd have to be very exciting. Moving right along, Chiron. This is an interesting Chiron because it's 0 degrees Aquarius. Chiron is a reject and it's retrograde. It just stationed retrograde. I could show you the ephemeris, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's very slow. It had just turned retrograde, so it's basically stationary. And that whenever a planet is stationary, it's extremely potent and powerful. But Chiron's the reject. Chiron was rejected by his mother for being a centaur, half horse, half human. And then he was wounded in the leg. So Chiron's a weird planet. And even as a physical body, he's like a planetoid asteroid. They don't even know how to, you know, classify Chiron. So he's a weirdo. Chiron's a weirdo. Chiron's especially a weirdo in Aquarius, especially weird at 0 degrees, even more so in retrograde. So here, like the weirdness is amplified, right? It's such because of the stationary retrograde 0 degrees Aquarius. It's just weirdness personified, and we know he is weird because he was, you know, a surrealist. And that's not the only thing that adds to his weirdness. Saturn is in Aquarius in the 8th house. 8th house is very deep and psychological, right? It's just like penetrating the depths, discovering like the secrets. And Aquarius is like that scientific, analytical, not analytical, that's more Virgo, but like scientific discovery, like thinking outside the box, being weird, being rebellious, right? And let's just look at his paintings for a moment. Okay, do we see any of that here? I think so. The weirdness of Aquarius, Chiron, the Saturn in the 8th, it's psychological, you know, all these things he's thinking about. He's like, well, what does time mean? You know, persistence of time. Saturn rules time, right? Time's a common theme. This is, you know, this is that Saturn, Chiron, Aquarius, a lot of it with everything else, you know, the extreme Mercury that can paint very well, the Jupiter ruling the 9th house and the 10th house, you know, rise to fame, all of that, the Taurus, stellium, you know, the incredible painting skills combined with the weirdness of Aquarius and the 8th house psychology. It's very relevant, present, you know, here. I can definitely see all that in his chart. So that's a huge reason why Salvador Dali was not only incredibly gifted. There are paintings of him that are very realistic. It wasn't always surrealism. He could do like incredible realistic paintings, classical, and that's 9th house. That's Jupiter ruling the 9th house in Pisces and the 10th house in Aries, and this Taurus stellium. But the weirdness comes from Aquarius, from Saturn and Chiron, 7th and 8th house, and the square. So here we have a contact. Saturn square, the sun, Mercury, and Mars. And the square is adding a tense aspect, right? It's not, we don't see like, it's not like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. It's weird and it's tense. Like melting clocks and the weird fate. Like what the heck? It's like a nose inside of a nose and like an eye below a smaller eye, and it's just weirdness, right? And there is a lot of tension there, right? That's the square, because, you know, sextiles are harmonious, squares are tense aspects. So he has a lot of harmony and tension, you know, really good balance of all that. The weirdness is personified. Uranus is square the nodes, adding Uranian components. Let's see, South Node is in Pisces, 9th house. So that's great. So like when he was younger, he studied like fine art, like high fine art, creativity, you know, Pisces creative. 9th house is like graduate school, right? So high fine art, and he did. And then later in his life, 3rd house, Virgo, really refining his skill, because Virgo is that refinement, that purity, that critical. It's less about the creative and more about the refinement. Virgo, the purifying element. In 3rd house is skills of the hands. You know, that's when he went to more surrealism. That's where he became famous. You know, the later work. And then Pluto in Gemini. Gemini again rules skills of the hands, communication. It's in the 12th house. So here he's obsessively creating with his hands, right? And he was very prolific, because Pluto is obsessive. And in the 12th house, it's like 12th house rules creativity. So there has to be an obsession towards creativity. Otherwise, there would be destructive tendencies, because Pluto in the 12th house will be destructive if it's not getting its needs met. And what its needs are met in the 12th house. Getting its needs met in the 12th house means being creative or being spiritual or being isolated in some way, you know, like in a negative way. It could be like in a mental hospital or a hospital or a monastery. A monastery would not be negative necessarily, but could be in a foreign land. But creating is really important for this Pluto, as Neptune as well. Neptune's in Cancer on the 12th side of the ascendant. This is adding a lot of creativity, spirituality. Neptune is naturally creative. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we get a good feeling for all of this. Generally, the Taurian stellium is, you know, and the Jupiter, fantastic for the arts. Jupiter, and this is all together, like for fame recognition, and then the weirdness, the surrealism is all in here. In Aquarius is really responsible for the surrealism. Probably Uranus too, because Uranus rules Aquarius. Saturn is strong in Aquarius, right? Okay, I mean, I think that pretty much explains Salvador Dali. Don't want to make this too long, so guys, that's it. That's Salvador Dali in a nutshell. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com. Thanks, guys.